Hello everyone and welcome back to the trouser class. Okay, so we'll be looking at the waist shaping, and I already gave a formula which is half waist plus 2 centimeters or half waist plus 1 centimeter, and the 2 or 1 centimeter are the ease. It depends on how much ease you need on your waistline. Remember, as a pattern maker, we shouldn't draft our exact measurement. We should always add ease, which becomes part of our actual measurement. Okay, so for this class, I'll be going with this, that is half waist plus 1 centimeter, which is the ease. And for my client, our half waist is 43, then plus 1, that's 44 centimeters. So on the waistline of the trouser, we'll be measuring 44 centimeters. So whatever we have left, because obviously the waist is more than what we need, so whatever we have in excess is what will be taken out as dart. So at the end of the day, on the front waist and on the back waist, we should have quarter waist plus 0.5 centimeter, because that's half of the waist will be quarter, and half of the ease, which is 1 centimeter, will be 0.5. So on each waist line, that is front and back, we should have 22 centimeters. But as you can see on the waistline of the pants right now, one pattern or one block is bigger than the other. The front is bigger than the back. So obviously, one, after shaping, one will be bigger than the other. Okay, but I'm saying, even if one is going to be bigger than the other, it shouldn't be more than 2 centimeters difference. It depends on how you're going to share the excess. Okay, I'm going to say this again because it is a very important you understand it. So I said, at the end of the day, what you have on the waist after doing your waist shaping should be, for the back, quarter waist for the plus the 0.5 centimeter ease, and for the front it should be the same. But because right now one block is bigger than the other, one is going to take more than the other. You're going to have more on one of the blocks than the other. In this case, it is the front, because right now, as you can see, we've not done the waist shaping. The front block is bigger than the back block. So once you have this at the back of your mind, you'll be able to evenly distribute this excess. Yes, and according to Natalie, the largest share of the excess should come to the side seam. Remember, this is your side seam. So the side seam takes the largest share of whatever this excess is. So the first thing we're going to do is, you're going to measure we need to establish what we have on the back waist and on the front waist. So you're going to measure from CB to the side seam and from CF to the side seam. Okay? You place your ruler on air like so and measure it. And you record. So for this, it is 26.5 for the back, and $28.5 for the front. So I have written them out. So the front is 28.5 centimeters, the back is 26.5 centimeters. So in total on the waist now we have 55 centimeters. So now you're going to deduct your calculation here, as you can see, which is 44 centimeters from the total waist. So that's 55 centimeters minus your half waist plus 1 centimeter. I beg your pardon. So our reduction is 11. So we have 11 centimeters that we will be taking out as dart. Okay? So now we need to get our dart positions. According to Natalie, she said we should measure 8 centimeters from CB, 8 centimeters from CF to get our dart position, our first dart position. Because we can have 2 darts on the back block and 2 darts in front as well, depending on how much excess you have. In this example, we have 11 centimeters, right? So with the 11 centimeters, we can actually have 2 darts at the back and 2 darts in front. And if you want, you can just have just 1 dart at the back and 1 dart in front. That means your dart will be big. But if you desire 2 darts, then you should divide that 1 dart into 2 equal halves. Okay, so for this example, for this class, we will be having 2 darts on your back block and 2 darts on your front block. Okay, so before we move on, remember I said at the end of the day, what you should have on the back waist should be quarter waist plus 0.5 centimeter, and on the front one should be also quarter waist plus 0.5 centimeter. And this is so that you can have your side seam well centralized. But I also mentioned that at the end of the day, what one will take more than the other, because right now, as you can see, the front block is actually bigger than the back. So the front is going to take more than the back. So you'll be taking more out from the front than the back, as you can see. Okay, I'm just going to take us back to this point. So we need to have 22 centimeters. But before we do that, you also need to establish the difference between your front and your back. That's actually the purpose of you measuring them separately, so that you know by how many centimeters the front is going to be bigger than the back. So now 28.5 centimeters is what we have on the front block and 26.5 on the back. So 28.5 minus 26.5, that gives us 2 centimeters. So now whatever excess we have, which is 11 centimeters, which we are taking as darts, we cannot share them equally. I.e., we can't say we are given back 5.5 and front 5.5, because ordinarily the front is 2 centimeters more than the back. So in sharing the excess as well, the front has to take more. So invariably what I'm trying to say is the front will take more than the back. So we will be doing for the back equal to 4 cm, and front will be taking 7 centimeters. Okay? If you have to rewind this, please do, because you really need to understand what we're doing here. Okay, and I also mentioned that the side seam will take the largest share of this excess. What that simply means is, when we're sharing it now, we're going to share from the 4 centimeters that we have for the back, the side seam is going to take some, and also from the 7 centimeters we have for the front, the side seam will take some as well. But at the end of the day, after sharing it, you realize that the side seam has actually taken more than every other place. Okay, let's get started. So to get the dart positioned, we're going to measure. Natalie said we should measure 8 centimeters from CB, and also from that point measure another 8. Remember, we'll be creating 2 darts. From CF as well, we're going to do the same. But I tell my student, you can't measure 8 centimeters for everybody. Here is why. For, let's say, a small size person, because their block will be smaller than this, by the time you measure 8 centimeters for your first dart and measure 8 centimeters for the second dart, you're probably getting too close to the side seam. Your dart shouldn't get too close to the side seam. So what I tell my students is you should work according to the figure. For a large or larger size, the 8 centimeters will work. But for a size, let's say for a size 8, you might use, for your dart positions, you might use maybe 6 centimeters as to the 8 centimeters recommended. And again, from that position, measure another 6 centimeters just to space your dart. Just make sure your dart is not too close to the side seam. Or what you can do is you can actually divide this by 3 if you're having 2 darts. So the first dart comes to the first division and the next dart comes to the other division. You really need to understand all this. That way it will be easier for you to position your darts very well, and you wouldn't have any troubles doing that. Same thing with the front. Okay, let's get started. So for this is my measurement, remember, but it's a 1/4 scale of my measurement. So for me, for my dart position, I'll use 8 centimeters and 8 centimeters. Same thing in front. Okay, so I have measured the first position of my dart, which is 8 centimeters, as you can see. Then from here, I've also measured 8 centimeters for the second dart. From the front as well, I've measured my 8 centimeters from here for the first dart. And from here, I have measured 8 centimeters for the position of the second dart. Okay, now we already know that we have 4 centimeters to take out as darts for the back block and 7 centimeters for the front block. So how I'm going to distribute this excess is this. For the back, which is 4 centimeters, I'm going to give this 1.5. First, let's draw the dart line. Okay, please make sure you zoom this so that you can see. So what I do is I'll place, because the line must be parallel to the CB, to the slanted CB. So you make sure the ruler is parallel to the edge of your waist. Can you see? Can you see this? Make it straight, parallel to your waistline, and you roll down 13 centimeters for the first one, that is the dart closer to your CB, and the second one is about 10 centimeters, right? The first one is on the same level with your balance mark or your guideline points that you used in drawing out your fork, this point, the Y and X, and that's about 13 centimeters long. So this will be 10 centimeters long and this will be 13 centimeters long. Same thing in front, 13, 13. Okay, so I'm just going to draw the dart line first, and I always do something. Remember, I told you in pattern making you need to create guidelines even if you don't have one. So what I do most times is I'm just going to use a transparent scale so you understand. So this measurement, which is 8 centimeters, right? I'll just come on, say, the hip. That's the closest line, and I'll measure the 8. This one is 8 from here as well, which is 16 if you're measuring it from CF. I'll point out, then I'm going to place my ruler on it. That becomes my guideline, right? On this point and on this point. You always have to create guidelines for yourself. It's very important. Then I'm going to rule the 13 centimeters long. So also here becomes, the 2 points are my guidelines. So I'm just going to place my ruler on those 2 points and rule my 13 centimeters. Also for the back, I'll do the same thing. And this one is about 10 centimeters. Just make sure it should be about 2 to 3 centimeters shorter than your first dart. This is because the dart shouldn't be too long, otherwise it might flatten the bum, because there's a bum. Just like darts do not get to the bust point on our bust, Otherwise, it will flatten the bust. Same thing applies for the bum. Okay? All right, then because we are giving 4 to the back, I'm going to measure 0.5 centimeters on here, and I'm going to join it up to the hip level. Then on either side of this line, I'll be measuring 0. Remember, we're giving this 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 centimeters, and the side seam will take 0.5. So 0.5, 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 centimeters, and 0.5. That will be equal to 4. Okay, so I'm just going to measure on the waistline 0.5 in from the center back, and on either side of this line I'm going to measure 0.75, 0.75. That gives us 1.5, and on either side of that line 0.75 and 0.75, and on here I'm just going to measure 0.5 centimeters in, and I will be finishing the dart. Okay, now I have done the division, so I've given 0.5 centimeters to the slanted CB, 1.5 on here, 1.5 on here, and 0.5 on here to the side seam. That's 4 centimeters. And for the front, we have 7 centimeters, so we're doing 2 centimeters, that is 1 centimeter on either side of the dart line, 1 centimeter on either side of the dart line. That's 4 centimeters. So the remaining 3 centimeters comes to the side seam. Having a slanted CF is optional. So e.g., if you desire a slanted CF, you can decide to make this 1.5, just like you did on the back, 1.5, 1.5, and 1 centimeter comes to your slanted CF. It's optional, okay? But like I said, if you want it, just take 0.5, 0.5 from here, making 1 centimeter, and just use your slanted CF. But for the basic block, we won't be showing slanted CF. But if you want to show it, like I said, so just take it out from here and add it here. As you can see, the side seam is taking the largest share, 2, 2, 1.5, 1.5, 0.5, and 3.5 in total for front and back comes to the side seam. And with that, the side seam will be well centralized, and this method is actually very good. I've tried it. That's how I do my division, because the side seam, like I said, has to be well centralized on the side. It shouldn't be too much to the front or too much to the back. And from the pattern, from the beginning, you can see that the front block is actually bigger than the back, so we have to make them, distribute them proportionately. Okay, then we have to finish the dart, connecting those points to the dart point, like so. A dart is like a V shape, like that. For the side seam, we will be using our French curve, different types of curve actually, to finish. That's why you need to have lots of curved ruler. French curve, small, big, shape curve, they all, the varying form curve, they all have their curves at different level. The master pattern, the metric French curve as well. So this is what your dart should look like at the moment. Now we're going to connect this to the hip, to the knee. Also the side seam to the hip, passing through the crotch and to the knee. Let's do that. Okay, like I said, I have different types of curves. Because we're doing a quarter scale, we should work with smaller curves. Also, I always tell my students, learn to draw by hand. Freehand drawing is very important. This is a shape curve. It's different from the armhole curve because they all curve at different points. But again, because we're doing a quarter scale, so I will be using the small shape curves. These are shape curves. Okay, please watch carefully how I am going to be placing these curves. Okay, this is what it looks like facing here. So you're going to place this on your waist, the point, the 0.5 on your waist, passing through the hip, right? You can zoom this when you're watching, okay? Or make it a full screen, okay? So you're going to draw like so, up to your crotch level. So this is what it looks like, right? Then you connect it to the hip, either with a straight line, with a straight ruler, I beg your pardon, or you use a curved ruler as well. But if you cannot use a curved ruler perfectly, then you can do with a straight line. This is too curvy, so I'll rather use this. If you can't learn to, I prefer a curved, the upper part, the longer, the almost straight part of my French curve. I love this French, I can't let it go. Of my shape curve, I beg your pardon. It's broken, but I still taped it together. It gives me perfect, you know, curves when I need to make my curves. Even on the bust, I love the curve around here than some of the French curve would give. Okay, so I'll use the almost straight part of my shape curve because we're a bit curvy in that part. Okay, so I'm just going to connect. But if you don't have this, see, it's looking almost straight, but there's a small curve on here, right? You can use your straight ruler as well, connecting these curves. It's almost the same thing because I've used the straight part of that ruler. Okay, then for the back, for the front, also, say, the back was like so, then we do the curve, but for the front, it's gonna be like so. Also connecting it, this point, passing through the hip, you have to learn to move your scale as well. Okay, passing through the hip and getting to the crotch. If you notice, you're going to be going in on the crotch level. It's fine. There are excess on that part as well. So it's like the curve is helping you to get rid of that little excess. Okay, then you connect from here to the knee as well, just like we did for the back. Okay, and that's it. This is what you should have right now. So I'm just going to reduce so you can see what your trouser looks like. Just reduce the zoom. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so you should have your complete trouser like so. The last part we'll be doing is to come down on the center front by 1 centimeter. For big people, you might want to do 1.5 to 2 centimeters. This is to make the waist in front sit well, especially for people with big tummy. Okay, same thing we do on skirts actually. So we're gonna come 1 cm down on center front. Okay, so this is 1 centimeter. Let me just be sure. Yeah, and we will connect it to the waist because your front and back waist should be on the same level. Okay, so we're going to connect this with the help of a curve. But before we do that, I usually do a little bit of straight line because if you're not careful and you draw your curve, this, instead of giving you a perfect curve, you might have something like a V shape, which you shouldn't have. It should give a perfect curve. So I always advise like a 1. Okay, let me just erase this. You already know this is 8 centimeters. So you have a clear picture. We don't need this anymore. Okay. So I'll rule like a 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters line. And then now place this here. Okay, let me just so you see from the inside. So you match that line with your waist. Keep moving till you have a perfect curve. Okay, this is not working, so I'm going to use this French curve. Let's see if it will work. Remember, we're doing a quarter scale, so that's probably why. So this is fine. Okay, let me just do a bit up. Let me zoom it. Okay, can you see now? So I'm matching my waist and I'm going to draw that curve and end on this line. Just blend it in. Don't take it to the CF, otherwise you might have that V shape that I was talking about. If you need to blend with hand, blend it perfectly. Remember, I told you need to learn to draw by hand. Freehand drawing is very important. Okay, so basically this is what our trouser should look like, and that's it. That's how to construct your basic trouser block. So we're going to draw our grain lines. Like I already said, grain lines helps you to place your pattern on the straight grain, on the correct grain accurately. Okay, so if you're cutting on the cross grain or you're cutting on the straight grain, this line should be parallel to the edges of your fabric, because you have to be careful you're not cutting off the grain at all time. Otherwise, if you cut off the grain, then by the time you finish sewing the garment, you might have drags all around the garment. So it's very important you cut on the correct grain and make sure you are not placing your pattern off the grain. So that's it. This is our trouser block. Okay, so I'll be showing us how to trace this block out in the next video. Thank you, and thanks for staying with me. See you in the next class. Bye.